3, 2, 1,
jingle! Happy time has just begun. Brother, sister, smart, dumb, fun. Yeah!
What is happening? What is that? Holy hell. Hey, it's
Batty,
a bat
batty,
or a
batty.
demon. Holy crap. Wow, look at that. Ann Brothers is hidden herself behind. Is that a fatty batty?
It's a marshmallow pillow.
This is bad.
It's a tree tag.
It's a bat. And it's a big fatty. I'm calling it a fatty batty from now
Fatty
on.
batty.
Yo,
Fatty
what's your fatty batty, yo?
I'm going to use it as a purse.
I love it. I was going to say a
of course
big
you are.
backpack, yeah.
Yes. Wow,
I got that
is
at
amazing.
Costco. There was only 3 left, and I got one of them. Mhm.
Hell yeah! Did you have to push some kid away to get it? Because
No, we
kids
went
always have
during
the
the
best thing.
day. It was during the day, before the kids got out of school. So
Oh, perfect.
Did you name it?
Yeah.
Him or her?
I haven't named it yet because I'm like,
Millicent. No, I
That's
don't
cute. God,
Oh, isn't
stupid
it
thing.
adorable?
That's adorable. Costco coming through again. Now, Chip, did you not tell us like earlier in the week that you have a Sam's membership that we can
I do.
cash in on
I
as well?
belong to Sam's Club. It's much closer to our house here.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah,
And
because the Costco's up in yeah.
Yeah, Costco was over kind of by where I used to work. Like over by the Trader Joe's, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. No, I don't do big time shopping at Sam's, but like I got my glasses there.
Ooh, nice.
I love they have you can get a slice of pizza, which is really like a quarter of a pizza and a drink for less than $3.
Nice. Ooh,
It's like
that's
a
good.
whole friggin' meal.
Nice.
I get a lot of my like vitamins and supplements there, things like that. They have some good deals. You can get flowers.
Sweet.
Yeah, I like
I
it.
love
And there's a woman usually who works there when I walk in with my little card who I know. Either I see her on the way in or the way out. How you doing? I'm good. What's up with you? It's like that's kind of cute. I love it.
Chip knows people. Happy Sunday, everybody. It's the 20th. Well, it won't be when you listen to this podcast later, but nevertheless, we are continuing with our spooktacular. Yes, we are a little bit earlier than early because Ann's got things to do, Chip's got things to do. I actually got things to do too.
Ooh.
So we decided we'd have to do our show a little bit early. Ann, you were just about to say something before I interrupted you, but I felt like I had to do our intro real quick like a bunny. So what were you going to say, Ann Brothers?
I can't remember now, so it must have been a lie. So it was.
It was something either about Sam's Club or Costco because that's what we were talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I was thinking of the hot dog. And it was like the pizza is like on the top is like the hot dog. Because when Duncan and I were there, Duncan's like, "I'm hungry." I'm like, "You want a hot dog?"
I have to. I'm sorry. I have
Now,
to tell a quick story.
Okay, go
When-
ahead.
Oh, yeah. I
When-
love story time. Story time, go.
My parents still lived in Troy. They belonged to, I think it was Costco, or whatever was big at that time, whatever the big store was. And one night I think I was there for vacation, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to go out to dinner?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's go." And we got in the car and we drove to Costco. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And they were like, "Oh, we usually get like hot dogs and stuff here. It's good." And I was like, "This is dinner. This is where we're going for dinner." And that's what we did. We went inside, had a hot dog, sat at the little picnic table. And actually, it was quite delightful, but it was just so funny. It was like, "Hey, you want to go out to dinner?" And I'm thinking, yeah, like a good burger. Nope. We're going to Costco. I loved it.
So I got into this discussion with my friend Kelsey a couple weeks ago because she teaches a forensic science class. And one of the things they do, she does this hot dog lab where it's like they're dissecting the hot dog for, I can't remember exactly what it is, but she goes and gets her bulk set of hot dogs at Gordon Food Service. And apparently you can get different gauges of hot dog. Like you can get like long skinny hot dogs, or you can get like a short girthy hot dog. And then we decided that we had to stop talking about it because we were exceeding our 20% sexual harassment capacity that you can do. Because when you take the sexual harassment vector training test, you can get an 80% to pass, which she interpreted that she could 20% sexually harass her workmates.
With stories about hot dogs.
Exactly.
Gauge.
Girthy hot dogs
Girthy
with
hot
a
dogs.
4-gauge hot dog. So anyway, Do you think we should talk about what we're here to talk about, or are we just going to keep talking and
I don't
telling
know.
hot dog
That was
stories
a
for the
little
next half
spooky.
hour?
Oh man.
That's right. We are in week 3 of our spooktacular Spooktoberfest with the Brother Sisters. As you can see with us is entertainment expert Chip Moehle, who's not just an
Hello.
entertainment expert, he's also apparently a bulk shopping expert. So good job, dude.
Totally. Well, and if you ever want to see the inside of Sam's, let me know. I'll take you with me.
I do.
You can
The good news
decide.
is we are racking up Sam's Club friends. Amber and Adam, Sam's Club membership. Kelsey, Sam's Club membership. Chip, Sam's Club membership. Whew. Yeah, so
That's it.
that's
We're
good
a
news
coven.
that we have.
We're a coven.
Oh, is that what we are now?
Yeah, we're gonna
Sam's Club
bring you into
coven.
the coven.
More spooktacular October covens.
Rosemary's bulk discount shopping baby.
Baby.
Oh man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Anyway, we are here to talk about Salem's Lot, the films. It was going to start out as just a review of the new version of Salem's Lot, which is currently on Max, which was released back on October 4th. But it turned into a compare and contrast of this Salem's Lot with the Salem's Lot miniseries that they did on television in 1979 with David Soul, and basically a crop of the who's who of 70s actors. They were in this, and then they were all on the Love Boat like 4 times. So huzzah for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Andy, you want to take us through this week's synopsis?
I'd be happy to. So,
Okay,
hi everybody. We're Ann and Janice Brothers, and our last name is Brothers, and we are sisters. Also, our brother from another mother, Chip Moehle, is with us today. So we are very happy. We're in our 50s, Generation X, which means we experienced the wonder and joy of the made-for-TV movie miniseries, and it's an experience that has not aged well. But it used to be a thing that you talked about, and it was on the cover of TV guides, and we even talked about it in the school playground because some kids got to stay up late to watch the whole thing, and some kids had to go to bed early, and you always hoped it started at least at 8 instead of 9. So
it was like a yearly, because they would always do the miniseries during sweeps month, so either September or May, which is the big sweeps month, or it was back 100 years ago. And you just looked forward to what's the big miniseries going to be this year, and it was North or South, or Shogun, or it was Lonesome Dove, or and it was a big deal. But yeah, we never got to. The funny thing is, I really didn't get to see any of these miniseries until I was in college, and then they would rerun them on WKBD out of Detroit or something, and then you could watch the whole thing as a near adult or as an adult person, which I loved. And then you're like, wow, these really weren't all that good.
And they were usually based on an epic novel.
Yes. Or a Jackie Collins novel.
Yeah. Less epic.
Yeah. And it was some
Grants.
and we'll talk about that. I'll give my thoughts on the 70s TV stuff as we talk about our own Salem's Lot miniseries in this as well. Okay, sorry, Ann. Keep it going.
No problem. We're going to talk about some smart stuff, some dumb stuff, some fun stuff, and any combination of the 3. None of us here today are cool, hip, or sexy, and we know this because we used to imagine ourselves in our own after-school specials, and we would have said no to drugs and alcohol and Satan, and somehow this would have made us cool in the eyes of our peers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have. Yeah, I was all practiced up. By the time I got to high school, I knew how to say no to drugs. In fact, it's so funny because I went and hung out with some of my high school friends last weekend. We were tailgating at Western, and we were all kind of talking about the fact that we were such incredible nerds because none of us drank, none of us smoked, none of us partied, and it was part of it is that we were all after school special role models. We really were.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
What was it? Beth was saying that her first memories with some of her friends was that they had formed their own little club called the Smarty Party or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can see a series of novels.
Of YA books where we, babysit. And
I can't watch the Babysitter Club anymore. I can't read that. I'm too old. But now I can read the Smarty Party books.
Smarty Party. Oh, man. Anyway, we're not a celebrity influencer or true crime podcast. We're the Crane Game of podcasts, a cheap thrill, and you may win a prize, but not likely. We're great to listen
No.
to if you want to learn things about stuff.
Yeah.
And because today we hope to save you from the really bad vampire movies and convince you to watch some great ones instead. This is not a G, PG, or even PG-13 because fuck-a-doodle-doo.
Oh, yay. And you broke the fuck seal today. Yay.
I did.
It's usually me in the first 10 seconds. So the fact that it was you today, yes, me.
Yes. You can join us on our website or Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. We're on all of them because we're that important. Like us,
Sorry, Ann,
follow us.
Did you say fuck-a-doodle-doo?
I
Yeah.
That
did.
just registered.
I don't know.
All right. My
All right,
bad.
so
Keep going.
Like us, follow us, hit the bell, and leave us a review. And you can give us your feedback on our questions and answers and our polls. And, if all else fails, just ask Alexa and she will help you find us. And then we can help you find us.
Help us to help you find
Exactly.
us.
Exactly. So I just made that up. Thank you.
Good job.
Show me the podcast.
Exactly. Adriana, put on those sister girls. Alrighty then.
Alloway.
Alameda.
Alameda, show them sister brothers. Yeah.
I don't think that's right.
I don't think that's right either.
I don't think that's right.
It's not. It's 100% not right. But this is right. What is right? Liking, following, subscribing us, leaving us a review on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or anywhere you get your podcast. I don't know. I don't know what all the podcasting things are, so that's probably a lie, but you can do these. This is a nice list right here. If you can't get a podcast off of these.
Many options.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You do have many options. And I think the easiest one is probably YouTube because you don't have to use, all you have to do with YouTube is just show up and there we are. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, it's huzzah. Mm-hmm. All right. So each week we like to talk about the things that we did that were either smart, dumb, or fun. Anne, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Well, I had a dumb thing this week and it was fun. So it was dumb and fun. And that there's a candy store. They have them in a number of places. They have one in Traverse City. They have one in Ann Arbor. The one I usually end up in is in Kalamazoo. It's called Rocket Fizz. It's like a candy store, soda pop shop, just all the crap that I was totally in love with when I was little and still am in love with now. And they often do a mystery bag where they just shove a bunch of candy in a bag. And they usually they color it. They make it, they make it pretty. And then it's, anywhere from $5 to, gosh, you can get one in the holidays, they have them for like $50. But like the $5 one, you are guaranteed to get $17 worth of free candy. And most of it is not candy that I would put in my mouth, but it's just so fun. I just love the surprise.
If you're not putting it in your mouth, where are you putting it?
You should put it in the trash. But because it's
well, considering Ann Brothers, the candy that you gave me this week,
exactly.
I should find a picture of that.
So anyway, but this one had a lot of chocolate in it, which I like, but often it has like a lot of like sour stuff or hard candy. It's just like, flavors I'm not particularly interested in, but this one had a bunch of chocolate in it. So I was very excited and had a cute bag. And I love these. I'll buy them for myself. And then Jenny will buy them for me every now and then. And I'm like, yay, surprise. I am a sucker for a surprise bag. You put crap in a bag and I don't know what I'm buying. And I am 100% in. 100%. I'm like,
and you've always been that way because I can remember they would do like a grab bag at that Five and Dime store in Centerville when we were kids, and I was always going. I would always go for the sure thing. I'm like, dude, if I get myself a bag of sour cherries, I know they're going to be amazing. But not Ann Brothers. Ann Brothers was like mystery bag. Let's go.
Bag.
I remember you said that on one of the episodes. You were like, if it's small and shiny or something like that, then you were totally in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. The thing is, like, just looking at the candy amuses me. Even just like there was this one. It was a Dragon Ball Z, which is a cartoon that Joe Seibert used to watch, and so it was a Dragon Ball Z candy. And so I had this fat white kitty on the label, and I was like, I love this picture. And the candy was like sour. It was green and like sour, candies. I was like, I'm not eating that, but I love this picture. So I saved the picture and put it in my journal.
That is amazing. Yeah, they do the kids that work there do some great little artwork on those bags too.
Yeah, I love
But
that.
I'm going to go ahead and warn people right now that if you are sensitive or if you don't like PG or if you're a G or PG person, look away because this is what my sister sent me this week. This is the candy or butt plug from my sister this week. This is again candy that you should not put in your mouth.
Exactly. I saw this at Horrocks and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
and
Yeah.
again, if you're motivated, it could be anything.
Anything. Or it could be a great band name. Either way.
Candy or butt plug? Yeah, you're probably right. To go with discount muffin and Taco Thursday.
Discount muffin opening for discount
Stop
muffin.
it.
Candy or butt plug. Man, we have really gone off the rails this morning.
We are officially off the rails. Sorry, America or Canada, whoever's listening to this. I don't know.
Exactly.
Ukraine. I don't know.
Ukraine, yeah, probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
So let's move on to my smart dumb fun thing. Okay.
Mystery bag. You never know what you're gonna get.
That is true, which is also this podcast. So it's a mystery bag. There you go. You're welcome. So for me, I hung out with the OG brother sisters yesterday, my Aunt Patty and my Aunt Vicky. We visited my Aunt Barbara, who is my great Aunt Barbara, who is relocating to Florida. So this was kind of her last hurrah before. We had lunch at the Chubby Trout in Elkhart, which is still quite a nice little restaurant. And we visited Linton's Enchanted Forest Garden, something. I think it's garden. It's fine because I'm not really a shopper anyway. And then I'm less of a shopper for things that say live, laugh, love on them in any way, shape, or form. And there's like everything in there, every pumpkin, every reindeer, every caribou, every fluffed owl, all say live, laugh, love. And so I was talking to my husband last night about this, and he's like, he really wants to see a line of brother sisters things that are like the antithesis of that. So instead of like live, laugh, love, it would be like fuck, cry, die, or something like that.
It would be butt plug or candy.
Yeah.
Butt plug or candy. There we go. So yeah, and I don't get me wrong. It was a fun day. I had a great time, but I struggle with places like that. It's like Frankenmuth, all but in one store. Now the upside was that we did go to their little cafe, and they did have some delicious muffins. They were not discounted, but they were delicious. They also had free hot cider samples, so I love that. Yeah, that made it bearable. Yeah, okay. Linton's Enchanted Gardens in beautiful Elkhart, Indiana. That's all I have to say.
I'm thinking
Right.
like I have no double entendre thing in mind. Like Anne has butt plug or candy and you have delicious muffin.
No, expensive muffin, not discount. Expensive muffin.
My fun was, as always, and I know I say this every time, but it was hanging with the brothers sisters because it's always a good time. It's a guaranteed fun fest. We watched Salem's Lot, which you'll hear our take on, but it's always fun to hear what we have to say about it live. And
we should do a watch event. Yeah,
really. It's kind of like our own Mystery Science Theater 3000.
It kind of is.
That, and then last night was my nephew's marching band. Was their final invitational, and I'm just gonna say it's the Portage Central Marching Band, and they're like #1 here in our region, and they won again last night, and
nice.
And that was even with, there was for some reason Petoskey was entered in this invitational, and they were really super good, and we beat them.
Which is interesting because Petoskey is known for their band, and their band that's a really big deal up there in the brief time that I hired into Petoskey schools. Yeah,
they were incredible. They were very tight, but not tight enough. Sorry, Petoskey.
Sorry.
PCMB.
That's a long haul, man. That's a 3.5 hour drive.
Oh well, no, it was the invitational was in East Kentwood.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So it's only a 2
But for some reason, all the invitationals we've had this year, Petoskey was not involved until this one. And I thought, why would they be involved in this region? But they didn't win, so that's okay.
It doesn't matter.
Go back to Petoskey.
If they thought it was going to be easy, they were wrong.
Right. But yeah, we won. We beat them. PCMB always brings it. It was a good
Nice.
show.
Good show.
That's awesome. All right, shall we get to the business of talking about? There's our reviews of the Salem's lots.
Mhm.
I'm looking at these pictures. I'm like cringeworthy. Okay,
Yeah.
who would like to? Who wants to go first?
Why don't I go first?
Okay, now Chip, do you have this in front of you? Because if so, I'm going to drop this out and put our pictures back up front and center. Do you have this in front
I
of you?
don't have it in front of me.
Okay, well, not a problem because we'll keep the pictures up and we'll just go right to Chippy's review. There it is.
Okay.
All right, man. Let's
So
have it.
I want to start first with just kind of explaining my relationship to horror in general, which is
Okay.
it scared the shit out of me as a kid. Like I was kind of fascinated by it, but it was always like, you would see some advertisement for a TV movie or a film, and when I was a kid, it was, The Exorcist and the one with the kid that's going to be the, Damien. And
The Omen, which is one of my favorite horror movies.
Yes, and it was like these, and then there would be these horror movies on TV, Trilogy of Terror and stuff like that. And it was like, this shit scared, like I would have bad dreams. I was like just a total fraidy cat. And it really hasn't been until like maybe the last 20 years or so. I honestly probably started with Twin Peaks, where I was like, okay, I can kind of get into this horror a little bit. I mean, there's one episode of that show that is probably one of the most violent things that was ever shown on TV at that time. And then from there, it was like Silence of the Lambs. Like, okay, I can handle this. Like, because when I was in high school, when I was 14, we went to band camp and those motherfuckers showed us Friday the 13th. And
at camp, that is
that's
not okay.
band camp, yeah. And so, of course, I was like, well, the other thing too was though, you watch that movie and you think, this is just plain terrifying. Like there's the motivation behind it is so skinny and thin that, it's just somebody who likes disemboweling people.
Mhm.
And you're like, I don't get this, and it terrifies me. And so I still don't. Slasher films like that,
Mhm.
I don't get them and they scare me. But you get something that's got a little bit of thinkiness to it. It kind of started with the Scream movies, where it was like, oh, somebody's kind of telling you ahead of time what's going to happen. And I still would get scared because those ads would show like, Drew Barrymore in the forefront and then somebody running behind her through the hallway. And so I didn't go to see the first one. The second one, I had a boyfriend who was like, we need to go see this. And I said, okay, but let's watch the first one together. And I need you to tell me when all the scary stuff's going to happen. And he was like, don't worry about it. Motherfucker lied. And I had to jump scare at everything in that movie.
We broke up the next day.
Yeah. It's like, okay. Yeah, I know we were weird. It was like either we were watching Scream or we were watching Annie. I mean, it was,
Mhm.
So over the years, I've gradually started watching more horror, American Horror Story, the Alien movies a little bit, it's like I kind of loosened up on this a little bit. It interests me more. And I think that's because they're making movies using the horror genre to actually tell a story or use it metaphorically. It's not just stupid, mindless,
Mhm.
here's your inside guts out on a table, I'll be honest, I've never read a Stephen King novel, but I need to now that we've seen this.
Mhm.
I'm going to interrupt you, Chip. Anne, what should Chip's starter Stephen King book be?
Oh, probably The Shining.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great story.
It's a great story, great character development, and it's not like one of his longer ones. It's a really great story. So.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah.
The thing is, I see these horror movies, and I think this is what I do now, so that I will wait till they come out, and then I read the plot description on Wikipedia.
Oh, there you go.
That way I don't have to deal with the jump scares, and I don't have to deal with, I'm going to go see some movie that's going to really bother me. And that has helped a lot. So anyway, I'm going to go into now the rest, which is the 1979 I had not watched. We watched about 15, 20 minutes of it the other night. And as bad as you had told me it was, in that 20 minutes, I mean, it was a truly uninteresting and an absolute mess. And I thought, why was I so scared of this as a kid? Like, I mean, it terrified me as a kid just seeing the advertisements. I think it was the staring contest between James Mason and David Soul, where they're just standing by the Jeep, just sort of staring at each other like two gay men complimenting on each other's outfits, like girl,
Girl,
and
girl.
girl, like, white after Labor Day, really. And I just thought, if this is the opening of this movie and this is supposed to tell me what's to come, I have absolutely no interest, and it doesn't scare me one single bit. So thank you for letting me see that little bit, because otherwise I would have tried to watch it here and probably tried to get through the whole damn thing. Apparently there was a 2004 version, which Rob Lowe was in, but I know nothing about that. This version we watched the other night, the 2024 version, was bad. Not scary. And that's coming from, as I said earlier, a big fraidy cat. The script is so spare and terrible. And it's like, it doesn't even give you room to fill in the blanks. It's like watching the Love Boat version of a horror film. And literally, it's like all the dumbest people live in this town. Like, I have never seen a town full of such stupid people ever. Like, there's a vampire in the house. Let's go back in the house. Better yet, let's go down in the basement. And I was every moment. And then they would open their mouths and say some of these lines. And it was like, what in the world? Who wrote this? This must have been like somebody's high school creative writing class that wrote this. I will say this, Jordan Prescott Carter, who plays the young boy, I kept calling him the Houdini boy because he liked magic and Houdini so much. He and Alfre Woodard are the MVPs of this. If you need to watch it because of them. The little boy is smart. Alfre Woodard is hysterical. And I'm going to just say this. She actually gets the line, "This is some shit."
She also gets the line, hell no.
Exactly. Yeah. And she delivers that the way it should be delivered in this film. She is always brilliant. And it was one of those things where when her name pops up, you're like, oh, well, this might be a good film. And then it starts and you're like, no. And it's like, oh, she's just having a good time.
Yeah, and you could see she was the only one having a good time.
Totally. She wasn't taking it seriously. She just knew the tone was off and she was going to fix the tone. I'm going to say the beginning was sort of promising, but it never paid off. Like, the opening thing where the guy captures the kid, like, that scares me. That's a genuine scare. And then when he takes him to the house and I'm like, that scares me. Like, this is a good start. And then it just was like, after that, like the fact that everybody was just suddenly like, oh, by the way, it's vampires. It's vampires. Wouldn't you say it's vampires? Yeah. Like, there was no descent into like, let's try to figure this out. And then I had to laugh. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, and now that all the characters believe it's vampires, let's do nothing to prepare ourselves.
Exactly. Or let's magically know what to do. Like, suddenly it was like, oh, get out of the shade. Like, oh, did we take a class on this? Did we take a class on this suddenly that I don't know. Anyway, and the big bad looked like Marilyn Manson. I mean, literally, whoever designed the makeup was like, let's make him look like Marilyn Manson. So it was a little funny in that respect. It wasn't quite as horrifying. And then you asked about movies to watch that would be better. Now, again, not a big horror person who watches films, so these are not all vampire movies. The first two are actually TV series. Midnight Mass, which is a series on Netflix, and you can tell takes its inspiration from Salem's Lot, but tells a much more layered, detailed story, and is absolutely fascinating to me. Same guy did a series called Fall of the House of Usher. The Lost Boys, I would say, is a better film, but only because it's sexy. It's scary, but it's sexy. And that's really the only reason to watch The Lost Boys, is you're seeing some of these young men at the height of their beauty. And Jamie Gertz at the height of her beauty. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, both the movie and the TV show, you can say to me, oh, they're comedies. They are, but they're terrifying. And because, again, there's something behind it. I think that's what was missing with the Salem's Lot is, from what I read, was he sort of wrote this book as his take on small town life dying, or America sort of dying. And none of that was put into this script in any way. It was just mindless, stupid. I'm going to say this. Even the Twilight film is better than this movie.
It
is
is.
scarier. Is
It is.
even scarier.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, the first one especially.
Wow.
Yeah. And I will say that this movie for me is kind of on par with Bram Stoker's Dracula, that horrible remake with Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder that was like
That's all
watching
you
a
had to
big
say.
live.
All you had to say is Keanu Reeves in
Yeah.
Bram Stoker's Dracula. I'm like, oh, time out. It's
I
20
know,
seconds
or
to
even
go.
Winona
What?
Ryder. I mean, it's just like it was like watching. Like, you remember the campy Batman in 1960s campy Batman
Oh,
TV show?
yeah.
Like Bram Stoker's Dracula is to Dracula what Batman 1960 is to Batman. It's just like
It
a
felt,
high camp, colorful,
it,
shiny treat
Mhm.
that has
watching
really nothing
Keanu
to
and Winona Ryder in that movie made me think of like watching a high school play where kids are like doing Shakespeare, like high school kids are doing Shakespeare. It's the
Mhm.
same. It felt like the same thing. I'm like, here you have these two actors who are completely overmatched for this material,
Yes.
and like, yeah, that's what it was like for me.
Yeah.
Sorry,
You know,
I interrupted you.
it reminded me of donkeys doing Shakespeare. That's what it reminded me of.
Okay.
So that's my
And
take
brother
on it.
slamming it down.
I would say if you can get through this holiday season without watching Salem's Lot 2024, there's plenty of other things that you can watch.
Exactly.
You're a hero, Chip. You're a
Or
hero.
watch it with
So,
two
yeah.
good friends and make fun of it the entire
And make fun of the.
That's pretty fun too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty fun too. All right. Anne, you want to do yours next, or do you want me to go next?
No, I can go next. I'm happy to.
Please
I
do.
thought as I was watching the 2024 film, I thought it was terrible, and then I watched the 1979 made-for-TV miniseries and realized that the 2024 version was terrible, but there was something worse. And I want it out there that I watched the entire miniseries, and it never got better. It
You're brave.
only got worse. Woof. I'll never get that time back. In fact, I advised Jenny. Jenny's like, I'm 40 minutes into it. Should I continue? And I'm like, no. And it's like 3 fucking hours. I was like, how can you have 27 lines and this movie be 3 hours long? Anyway, I thought they
So
were
much
both
staring.
awful. So much staring. So the 2024 version has better special effects than the 1979 version, but it was a pretty low bar. And and the special effects in 1979 version are laughable. I mean, like not even scary, just like so you can practically see the fish line pulling things down. It's just so ridiculous. And you have to remember that Salem's Lot, the miniseries, came out the same year that Alien came out, and Alien is this terrifying movie, with special effects that had nothing to do with computers that were very convincing. So I'm like, they could have put a little more money into that 1979 version and maybe gotten a slightly better movie, because it could be done. You could say, oh, it's 1979. Like, Alien, classic. Anyway, I would like to know, did anyone read past the jacket cover of the Stephen King book before they made this into a film? Because my answer would be no. Oh boy, oh boy. Both films managed to be uninteresting and way too long. Now I've been listening to Salem's Lot, and it is a slow burn. It would be a difficult movie. It is a difficult movie or a story to put into film because it's the slow burn. As you said, Chip, Stephen King does a prologue to the audiobook, and he talks about how this was not necessarily a horror movie. It was about the death of how small towns die and what was happening during this time. And, they do not convey that at all. They do not. And this was what pisses me off is like, it can be done well. I think about the movie Heredity, and this came out about 5-6 years ago. And this movie is also a slow burn. You're watching it for a good 40 minutes before anything even mildly scary happens. In fact, at one point I'm sitting watching this movie in the theater, and I'm thinking, how come this movie it's just telling me a story? I'm not scared, and I'm riveted. I'm riveted by the story that they are telling me. And of course, by the end, that movie is crazy, insane, scary. One of the scariest films I've ever seen. So it can be done. With good writing, it can be done. So it wasn't the actor's fault in either of these versions. It was the writing. The writing was terrible.
Writing matters. Writing
Writing
matters.
matters. It was difficult to do a competent job of acting because of the writing.
Yes.
So you know that the acting was not good in either film. The acting was not good. And they were trying really hard, and you could tell, which made it even more difficult to watch. I'm like, oh, they're acting so hard. The 1979 version dialogue is often replaced with long and very contemplative stares, acting genius. Thank you. This is how I act. It was just, it was ridiculous. And then the soundtrack from the 1979 version is actually its own character. And it's a hungover scene tune drama king. That's how I would best describe the music. In fact, the music in the 2024 movie, they have a Gordon Lightfoot song.
Yes.
That's the best part of the 2024 movie.
Yeah, it's Sundown by Gordon Lightfoot is the star of that movie.
Opens and closes the film.
Opens and closes, the best freaking part of that film. All right, better vampire movies you should see instead. Let the Right One In. This was made in 2008, released in 2008. It's actually a Swedish film, and they did an American version of it called Let Me In 2010. Oh gosh, it is so good. Let Me In is like it's a really, really terrifying take on a vampire movie. You'll keep going back to it. And some of the cinematography in it is beautiful. Only Lovers Left Alive. I love this film. This film is set in Detroit. And Tilda Swinton is in it. And whenever I see her in a film, I usually watch it because I'm a big fan of hers. And then Anton Yelchin's, this is one of his last films, but before he died.
Right before he died.
Right before he died. So this is a great, if you want something that's like, they did a really good job. Detroit's a very old city. Most people don't realize that Detroit is over 300 years old. So they've managed to really emphasize the Gothicness of Detroit, and not in a modern Gothic way, but an actual, early European Gothic sense, which is a beautiful, it's done beautifully. The story is funny. It's a little tongue in cheek. It's kind of a dark humor. It's totally worth the time. From Dusk Till Dawn, of course, if you want, high impact, lots of blood, sexy, just a rip-roaring good time. This was directed by Robert Rodriguez. 30 Days of Night. Now, the main characters in this movie, there's not a lot of chemistry, but the reason to watch this movie are the vampires. The vampires in this movie are terrifying and so interesting. Love you want a good vampire movie. This is the movie to watch for the vampires. What We Do in the Shadows is a comedy series on FX. It is very funny. It's based on a graphic novel. Duncan and I, my husband and I, we watched the first 3 seasons. I thought after that it got a little repetitive, but the first 3 seasons are so funny.
Yes.
The guy from Flight of the Conchords, one of the guys from Flight of the Conchords is one of the producers of this show. So hilarious. And of course, I did have a couple trashy movies. They are trashy. Trash does have its place in horror movies, but they're just better than Salem's Lot. So if you need a trashy movie, Lost Boys, of course, because it's sexy, and Blade, which is just takes itself too seriously, but it's very stylized and cool. So those are, that's my list.
Nice.
That's a good list, Ann Brothers. Well said.
Mm-hmm.
Well done.
What We Do in the Shadows is so funny.
It is so funny.
Well, and I love you mentioned Tilda Swinton, because there's a scene in the first season where they bring in all these vampires, and like Paul Rubens is there from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Tilda Swinton is there from Only Lovers Left Alive.
Yeah, they took any actor that they could get who'd been in a vampire movie and put them in this scene, and then they make fun of like Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise for not being there. Yes. Because they couldn't come to the meeting today. It was just so funny.
That's awesome.
Oh man.
Nice. I'm not going to cover a lot of new ground compared to you guys. My review is that they both sucked, and not in the right way. Oh yeah, let's go. What happened? Wins. I just did that. Let's go.
Oh my god. Oh,
yeah,
so
they were
economical and so funny.
Yeah, they both. I don't know what to say. The 1979 version. It's easy to bang on that one because, and if you look at made for TVs, and this is going back to the whole miniseries thing that you talked about earlier, is that for whatever reason we had this idea in TV. And I don't know what it was, but TV acting in the 70s was different than movie acting. It just felt worse. It felt like I'm on TV. It's so different. So I must act more, harder. And, there's nothing more boring than watching people try to emote on TV. Just emote in general. It's, that's what, and the thing about Stephen King books, I don't think really many of his books translate well unless you have a narrator, because there's so much that's happening within the characters' heads and so much that he's doing to develop their characters, their thoughts, those deep, dark, icky things that are truly what makes us, stay up at night. That does not translate well to the screen. I'm like, you can probably count on one hand the number of really good Stephen King adaptations. And I think it's because his work is so detailed and goes into places that movies simply can't take you. And this is a great example of that. Going back to the 2024 version, it was like it was weird to watch because there was no story development. It's like you said, Anne and Chip, both of you mentioned that. It was like 1 minute everybody's dying, and the next minute it must be vampires. I'm like, did they just? It was like, well, we've got to get to the end, so let's hurry up. It was like they were in some big fucking hurry to end this movie, and I'm like, why? This should be fun and entertaining, and it wasn't. It was just like, okay, now your bit, vampire movie over.
Yeah.
Let's drive away now. I'm like, that didn't, and that's the part and then the sheriff kept talking about, oh, this town's going to hell, blah, blah, blah. But they spent no time developing how, when, or why that is. We literally knew nothing about Salem's Lot, its history, other than all of a sudden the sheriff is espousing that this town is going to hell and then I'm going to leave. But you don't really get why. It's like, well, what's so terrible? What's gone wrong in Salem's Lot that it's, so they might, Stephen King makes reference to that about the book, but there's no reference to it whatsoever other than you have these two statements that the sheriff makes, and then we're supposed to buy something else from that. Yeah, it was weird. I just thought it was just lame. And I'd rather sit there and watch the 1979 exposition because it was they were at least trying to tell some story about the town itself. They didn't succeed in it, but they were at least trying with the 2024. What it did is it felt like a money grab from HBO to cash in on the holiday season. And it turns out, I just was reading an article last night that they are making bank on this movie. People are lapping it up. So yeah, they got what they wanted, which was a paycheck. And I got 90 minutes of garbage. So yeah, I thought it sucked. Alfre Woodard was great. She was the only one that had any sort of dynamic. Everybody else is running around and she's, like, anybody else think this is weird? What do you mean vampires? I know vampires, Yeah, that moment where it's so funny because that moment where she delivers the line of the movie, they're opening up the drawer to the morgue to find this body that's not there. And she just looks down and I was waiting for some like moment of like, what's going on? That serious moment, like this can't be. And instead she just looks up, she's like, well, this is some shit, and I'm like, are you kidding? Laughed out loud. That was the only like laugh out loud moment of, I'm like, there were no jump scares. That was the closest thing we got to a jump scare was her delivering that line. So that was amazing. They're both boring. In the end, both versions are boring. And I'm sorry, you can't be boring if you're going to be a horror movie. Be something, but don't be boring. Make them love you.
Do not be the mother of the bride dress. You got to be better than that.
Yeah, these were both the mother of the bride dress. Terrible. So yeah, totally sucked. So better movies that you should watch. My favorite. Well, let me start by saying I don't love vampire movies. I never have. I don't really get vampires. It's not a thing for me. They're all the same. As far as suck blood, don't die. I don't really get it. And I do like me. Yeah. I'm like, what else you got? It's like superhero movies. But instead of superheroes, we use vampires. That's okay. But as far as movies that I love the most, my favorite one ever is From Dusk Till Dawn. And I think it's because that movie, I didn't really know anything about that movie before I started watching it. And it starts out, it's a heist movie. You're following these two brothers and they've just, knocked over a liquor store. And it's got that real kind of frantic.
They knocked over a bank.
They knock over a bank, and then they go into the convenience store, which is a fantastic scene. And where you're thinking it's going to be like, ooh, here we go. Tammy Peters is with us. Yo, Tammy Peters.
Hi, Tammy Peters.
Yes, Tammy, and it's funny because when you're a kid, that 1979 version is terrifying. Chip was just saying that earlier, and then as a 50-year-old, you're like, oh, yeah. So I get that. Yeah, yeah, and the whole floating kid outside your window, that's creepy as fuck. So
Yeah.
yeah, and they had some of that. They had the floating kid. And really, the only parts that I would say were really scary were the parts involving the kids. Like you
Mhm.
said, the scene where the one brother gets abducted is really scary. And they do, I thought that was a very effective how they filmed that because it was
Yeah.
all done in silhouette, which I thought was really cool.
Mhm.
And then the scene where Danny is tapping on what's his name's window to get him to let him in, which again is pretty scary as well. But Dusk Till Dawn starts out as a heist movie and ends up turning into a fucking vampire movie and a
Mhm.
and a riotously violent and cheeky vampire
Mhm.
movie at that. I really like that movie very much. I did really like Let the Right One In and Let Me In. Those are both two genuinely scary movies that I thought were great. I forgot all about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and as soon as you said it, Chip, I go back to the scene where Paul Rubens' character dies in that movie. So damn funny.
Ugh, ugh, ugh.
It's just one of the classic scenes. Yeah, I forgot all about that movie, and that is a great movie anyway, and a great vampire movie. Jennifer's Body, which is not really a vampire movie, but I guess it's succubus. It's a succubus movie, but nevertheless, feels like a vampire movie. And it's just a great, clever horror movie on top of it.
Mhm.
And frankly, if you're going to watch any vampire thing, watch season 5, episode 12 of the X Files, Bad Blood, which is a vampire episode, and one of my all-time favorite episodes of that series. Clever, funny, a young Luke Wilson in that movie with big buck teeth, and just just again amazing. So yeah, don't watch these movies unless you want to. It's a free country. You can.
Yeah,
I just want to save you the disappointment,
Mhm.
but
We
you're
warned
gonna
you.
want to look.
we all
We
do.
warned you.
We all
Yeah.
do.
Mhm.
Good one. Tammy's talking about the True Blood series. Yep,
Oh
True
yeah.
Blood's
Yes,
great.
I meant to put
Yep.
that on my list.
Mhm.
I
So,
agree.
yep.
Talk about
Yeah, I
sexy.
just
Although at the same time, I'll say Family Guy did a funny thing on True Blood where they have the one character pops up and he goes, I'm a sexy vampire. And the other guy pops up and he's like, I'm a sexy werewolf. And then the lead character pops up and she goes, and that's the show.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, the
That's
first
so
season
bad,
was
really.
very interesting. And then after that, it kind of,
Yeah, they didn't. It didn't. It was intriguing the first season, and then it just got repetitive. So I'm
Yeah.
sexy. I'm going to take my shirt
like-
off.
but
Okay.
like Jenny said, that's the thing about vampires. It's like there's
Mm-hmm.
rarely, I liked American Horror Story Hotel, but they didn't have vampires because Ryan Murphy was like, I'm not doing vampires. So instead, he had people who had a virus that made them want to drink blood. And I'm like,
Right.
we got vampires, dumbass. Like, just,
Oh no, they're not vampires.
yeah,
They're just regular people who like blood very
Yeah.
much. So
Mhm.
yeah, if you really need Halloween movies to watch and you want to watch vampire movies, we have provided you with some excellent lists. But
Mhm.
again, um, it's hard to. I do like me some horror movies. I still haven't had the guts or the intestinal fortitude to watch Heredity. I'm still trying to recover
yeah.
from Midsummer, which is
Oh, Heredity's way scarier.
oh God.
See, and I've read both
No.
the Wikipedias on both of them, and I'm still kind of like, I'm not so sure. about
Yeah,
this.
I've
God.
watched both of them, and like Heredity is way more
Mm.
fucked up. Mhm.
I don't
Yeah, and I just want to point out, if you're watching this, do I look like a vampire? I'm like so freaking pale. I could be a vampire or a ghost. Boo. On those shoes.
You know, I'm just going to go back for one moment to my list, and that the reason why I picked "Let the Right One In" and "Only Lovers Left Alive" was because they were unique in their perspective of vampire movies, and that's why I liked them.
True that.
Is it wasn't
That's
just
fair.
you're getting bit, you're bit, you're bit, you're bit. We need to cross, burn the place down. That's what I liked about those two movies. Was it was stories told, and there were vampires. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, I like
Does.
that.
Your
Yeah.
stories.
And that's kind of how I felt
Mhm.
about Dusk Till Dawn, is that
Mhm.
it starts out a completely different story, and then it ends up being a vampire movie, and then have a nice day. But everybody dies. And I just thought it was clever. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, vampires is carjackers, okay, and
Mhm.
stealing merchandise and living in Mexico. It's like, okay. Yeah,
So
you never
yeah.
know.
Mhm.
So awesome. All right. So I feel like
I feel
we
like
did a
we
good
did it.
job of keeping people safe
Yes.
from
Yes.
the new Salem's Lot and all of
And
that sort of stuff. So
Well, I'll be
gotta
anxious
tell
to see
you,
if anybody comments. You know,
yeah, I gotta say, if anybody, if you really believe there's vampires in the situation, you need to burn everything down and then drive away in the daylight while it's
hello. I
daylight.
know how many times while we were watching it, were we
Like,
like, burn the house down, burn
burn
that down,
it, burn it
hit
down.
the fire.
Exactly.
well,
And
I'm like,
drive
why do
away.
you keep going to the house where the vampire is? Don't
Yeah.
go there. The vampire's there, you dummies.
I know. It was like, I promised Danny, I don't give a shit.
God.
I don't give a shit who you
It
promised.
was like, get in the
Get out.
car. Get your ass in the car. Drive it away.
I don't
During
know.
the daylight.
I'm like, well, and then it was like it was just dumb. The 2024 movie was dumb. It's like,
Mhm.
hey, we're gonna go to the drive-in, and this is where the town accountant has the affair with his. It's just like, why would
It
you
was,
go to a drive-in where there's 100 other people to have your
yeah,
secret affair? Or, God, it was dumb.
it was like, even dumber than the Cliff Notes version of Salem's Lot.
Ugh.
Like, at least the Cliff Notes would give you some backstory and some,
Mhm.
some
Mhm.
foreshadowing, whatnot.
Mhm.
But this
Well,
was just like, like I
and
think one
we
of you said, like it's just like point A to point B to point C to the end.
Mhm.
and we never learned why the Marston house was scary.
Right.
Here we're all spending all this time staring at this house that supposedly has this super scary history that we learned nothing about. I'm like, why is this house scary? What's the big deal? Why is he here to study this scary house? And we literally learned nothing about why he is
Mhm.
even here. Ben, what's his name? The character,
Yeah.
to find out
Straker.
he's yeah. I'm like,
Well, and
why
even
is
that,
it?
I have to just say, as a gay man, I get so tired of the sort of dandy character
Mhm.
in horror movies. Like, this guy comes over from Europe and he sells antiques and he dresses like a bon vivant with a little, what did you call him? Ascot Andy?
Ascot Andy.
And
Yeah.
it's like, good Lord, like why
Wait,
does
time
a
out.
queer
A
coded character
what? A bon vivant?
bon vivant?
Bon vivant.
I don't know what that is.
That's Ascot Andy.
Ew, you rascal, you bon vivant.
Bon vivant. Somebody who enjoys life.
Exactly.
Is very,
He
flamboyant.
started, he started as a fop and became a bon vivant.
Stop. That's what
Oh
I'm
my
looking
God,
for.
what just happened to
It's
our
like,
show?
I know, like it's our theater history. That's
Exactly. We started out with Voltaire in the 17th century, and now we've moved into the 18th century with our bon vivant.
But yeah,
Like,
I just get it's like the
forgot you guys all took Professor Bird's theater history class.
I know, like like this is Chautauqua. Do you remember Chautauqua? No, we're not going
Yes.
to talk about that. But yeah, but no, it's like like the bad influence that comes into town is brought in by a coded queer character.
Right. It's
It's
exactly
like,
it.
God damn it. Like I don't think, I'm not sure because I remember the book, but I can't imagine that is what Stephen King intended.
Mhm. Right. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, agreed.
It wasn't. It wasn't at all. So and that's the other thing. But again, you would have to go deeper into the writing, and they did not bother to do that. So
Yeah.
And again, if you were going to do this right, you would make this into a several-parted series, and
Yeah.
you would do some backstory, and you would really work the writing. And this wasn't, like you
Especially
said,
if
it
it's
looked
on
like somebody.
Max.
Yeah.
Yeah,
make it a
and that just
4-episode something, or
Mhm.
well, and I think it's the shrinkflating of everything. Like you can't we got a shrinkflated version big bag of popcorn that you brought. We had a shrinkflated version bag of Cheetos, and we got a shrinkflated version of Max's Salem's Lot. That's what it felt like. It felt like we should have developed this into something which was several episodes long, which required more time and more writers and more writing. But instead, we're just going to give you the shit version that we paid practically nothing for, and
Mhm.
we're going to throw out this garbage, and people are going to love it. And again, as Americans, we deserve better, but we rarely will go and say, I'm not going to watch this. I'm going to make you give me better.
Mhm.
I'm going to make you give me my chips back. My chips!
Hello.
Sorry, I'm still mad.
That's as I say. Yeah, like Saturday night was brought to you by Shrinkflation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's what this was. It's more shrinkflation, and again, we're mad about the wrong things, America. This is what we should be mad about. But
Yeah.
Instead, we're
Crappy vampire movies and not enough popcorn in our bag.
Not enough popcorn in a bag.
I know that seems like a silly thing, but it really is. It's indicative of the larger problem of what we're willing to put up with as a nation. You know, where we don't believe that these are the things that are worth fighting for. So, you know.
Yeah.
This I will now be running for president. You're welcome.
Please do. I'd vote for you.
Me too.
So, anyway, let's go ahead and let us continue on with the show. The good news is you did it. You survived nearly another hour of learning things about stuff with the brother sisters and sister from another mister, Chip Moehle.
That's me.
This week you learned that you should skip all versions of Salem's Lot.
Except
Unless
for the
you're
book.
gonna read it. Yeah. Unless you're
Except for
gonna
the
read
book. The book is good. Unless you're going to read it. So skip the movies, skip 2024, skip 2004. We skipped that one, and skip the 1979 version because they all suck. Literally. You're welcome again. You learned what vampire movies, if vampires are your thing, we basically, oh, look, Tammy's going to vote for me. Yeah,
Yay,
let's go.
Tammy.
I'm simply going to run on the platform that we're going to give you your chips back. Okay?
Yes.
We're going to fill that bag of chips again. Instead
Well,
of
and
you
if
buying a
somebody
big bag of
named-
air with 14 chips in it, we're going to give you all of your chips back. So
When
yeah.
if somebody named Chip, I'm all for that.
Good. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. Yay.
I know. Yay.
Chip,
Chip
you're going
approved.
to be
Chip tested.
Chip
Chip
approved.
approved.
Chip, would you like to be my running mate? Since we're already engaged. So,
That's
you
right.
know.
That's right. We can be voted in on the same day we get married, which is
Well,
the 12th
the
of
12th of never. Huzzah.
Huzzah.
Yep. So remember, you guys, we want to hear from you. Tammy, thank you for commenting today. That was fantastic. We love hearing from you. We want to hear your questions, concerns, comments, and
Confessions.
confessions
Ooh, confession.
about the things that you know or the things that you think you know. That would be fantastic. Remember, you can support us for free. You don't have to pay anything. All you got to do is follow, like, subscribe, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So there's lots of ways that you can support us. Again, you guys, you don't have to do anything. All you got to do is just like, hit subscribe, ring the bell, leave a comment. You don't even need to leave money unless you want to.
Unless you want to.
But yeah, that's nothing wrong with that. Join us next week as we continue. And Chip, next week is the last week of Spooktoberfest.
No, Jenny, it's the weekend after because we have to do something on the Day of the Dead, which is technically the 1st and 2nd of November.
Okay, so we are extending Spooktoberfest into November.
I
No
just learned things about
shrinkflation here.
stuff.
You absolutely
about stuff.
learned
I just
things
learned things about
stuff.
Mhm.
Stuff.
Yeah, so
So
no
yeah.
shrinkflation here. We're going to give you an extra week of spookiness.
We're the best.
We are.
You're the absolute best. Join us next week. We will have Tara Trotter with us. She is a Kalamazoo spooky specialist. She's going to be talking to us about haunted stories. So until then, I'm Janice Brothers, and with me is my sister
And brothers.
and sister from another mister.
Chip Daly!
That's right. And we want you to get out there. We want you to do something smart, do something fun, do something dumb. We are out of here.